Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kayla, and this is my space to talk about all things horror. I wanted to say hello and welcome and thank you to all of my new subscribers. I'm really glad to have you here. I was so happily surprised at all of the love on my last video. It was a nice early Christmas gift. So I said on one of my very first videos that I'm not like going on YouTube to try to be like famous or rich or anything like that, because that's not going to happen and that's fine. What was important to me was to try to create a community of other people who really like horror that I could connect with and share my thoughts with, because I don't really have that in real life. I can't guarantee that I'm going to be like putting out uploads with any particular sort of consistency. I don't think I realized when I went into this how much work it is to create a video, especially when you want to create quality content for people to engage with, which I obviously do. That's important to me. So I don't know how often I'm going to be uploading, but I'm going to do my best, and interacting with you guys and seeing all of the feedback and watching you like share your thoughts on Megan is Missing was really encouraging, because it feels like I'm not just like shouting out into the void. So now I feel like I'm making videos for someone instead of just myself, which I guess is okay too, but it's more fun with you. So you may have noticed that the Holter monitor is gone. Thank goodness. Good news is that I have a condition. I don't know if you'd call it a condition. It's just maybe like a phenomenon. It's called premature ventricular contraction, and it's totally benign, not too uncommon, and requires no treatment. So I literally don't have to do anything. But moral of the story is, if you're ever worried about your health, especially when it comes to your heart, your ticker, because you need that, definitely go to your doctor and get yourself some peace of mind, because now I know that it's really not anything that I have to worry about. So all of that aside, today we are going to be talking about another movie that took TikTok by storm. This time, we are looking at Antrum. The definition of Antrum, Google Dictionary tells me, is in anatomy, a natural chamber or cavity in a bone or other anatomical structure. So a little bit of background on the movie Antrum. It was released in 2018 and directed by David Amito and Michael Licini, I think is how you pronounce it. It was done on a $60,000 budget, and it's kind of meta. So part one is about 8 minutes of a mockumentary that is about the film Antrum. So it's like a movie within a movie. Movieception. So the people that are interviewed for the mockumentary are, I think, real academics on these different topics. And some of the films that they mention in reference to Antrum are Ring You and Cigarette Burns, which were also films that were about cursed media that made the people who watched them do terrible things. So the film that the film is about, Antrum, was filmed allegedly in the late 1970s on 35mm film, and the legend goes that a screening in Budapest in 1988 experienced a fire that burned the entire building down and resulted in 56 deaths. And they believe that the fire may have started within the audience or something like that. So the other part of it is that it never has any public screenings. It's rejected from all of these film festivals. And every person that rejects it mysteriously dies. Like this one woman who runs a film festival and rejects it has a seizure like a week later or something like that, and dies from her seizure. So what I think is interesting about this is that the mockumentary kind of primes us for the film itself, because it's in 3 parts, right? So it's the mockumentary, it's Antrum the film, and then it's kind of like a debriefing afterwards during the credits. So in the mockumentary, they talk about the cursed elements, the alleged cursed elements of this film, which are the audio. I guess there's binaural beats, which I could be completely wrong, but I thought that binaural beats only work when you use headphones. So according to the sleepfoundation.org, which I am definitely not looking up right now as I'm filming this, one ear hears one tone or frequency, the other ear hears a different frequency, and your brain creates a third frequency or an additional tone that you hear. And allegedly these binaural beats can do all sorts of different things. They can help people sleep. They can help people meditate, help people focus while they're doing work. I've tried them without any success. Maybe I wasn't binauraling hard enough. I don't know. I tried to use them to fall asleep and it just creeped me out, so I couldn't do it. But allegedly, according to this mockumentary, binaural beats are also used to, I don't know, tell you to set fire to a theater in Budapest in 1988. There's also throughout the film distorted audio and like whispers and these demonic sounding voices. We also see flashes very briefly on the screen of like symbols and sigils. Some of them are ripped directly from the Ars Goetia, or I guess I should say they're ripped directly from the Lesser Key of Solomon, Ars Goetia being one part of the Lesser Key of Solomon, which is, I believe that they can be summed up as a book that tells you how to contact demons. When the movie transitions, the mockumentary transitions over into the film Antrum, you get this like warning that comes up on the screen, kind of like with Megan is Missing, as we talked about last time, where it says, this is based on a true story, which makes you feel like, oh my God, you're going to be watching something forbidden. You get this warning on screen that basically says, we are not liable for your death if you watch this and something happens to you. Are you sure? And then you get like a 30-second countdown before the movie actually starts. So you could turn it off and you could run away, right? Like it kind of drives the point home or the idea home that you're watching a cursed piece of media. It kind of reminds me of, I almost don't want to speak his name because I know he's very litigious, but McCamey Manor, where he created this, 50-page release of liability contract that you have to sign, and it goes through all of the things that you might experience when you're in the manor. And I think it's been reviewed by lawyers, and they're like, this would not hold up in court. And like people who have experienced the manor are like, none of this actually happens. But it was put out there, probably by his team, into the world to amp up and hype up the idea or the experience or the concept so that people would think it's more frightening than it actually is. It's just a piece. Allegedly, in my opinion, so the story of the film Antrum is about a little boy named Nathan who looks to be about 6, 7 years old, and his older sister, Oralee, which I know is a real name, but I'm not going to touch that. So Nathan and Oralee in the beginning of the movie are euthanizing their dog. And, it's assumed that the dog is at the end of its life. It's sick or something like that. There's a veterinarian there that's performing a euthanization, and everybody's very sad. And when they're driving home, Nathan asks his mother, is Maxine in heaven? Where is she? Where is she? And the mother goes, no, Maxine is probably in hell because she was bad. Which, I know in the 70s that people had a different idea of what parenting looked like, but, that's child abuse, right? All dogs go to heaven. Everybody knows that. So naturally, this causes Nathan to have all sorts of nightmares. He's having trouble sleeping. He's very fearful after mom tells him that Maxine went to hell, because of course. And in order to try and help him, orally takes him into the woods and says, we're going to perform this ritual and we are going to dig a hole to hell and bring Maxine back. Makes sense, right? Totally something that you do. So she's got this like grimoire of sorts that has these drawings and like these rituals and chants in it. They bring with them a bunch of different like statues from different religions. So like there's a Buddha, there's a Jesus, there's a menorah, there's a moon, and they like cleanse the space and then they start digging. And as they go further and further down the pit that they're digging, they go to these 5 different layers of hell. The first one being Antrum, which is the first chamber, I guess you could say. And they're presented to us like chapters of a book, and each one of them is read by some spooky demonic voice. So the inspiration and meaning behind Antrum, I actually thought it was pretty interesting when I was reading about the inspiration for this movie, even though, I mean, full disclosure, I don't think it's a good movie. I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but I think it's rated at like a 4.9 on IMDb, and yes, I think that's very fair. So in an interview with Rue Morgue, Amito and Lysini explained that they were inspired by films that bring them to the point of being scared without actually getting under their skin. So they kind of fail to bring them to that point where they're really feeling, when you watch a scary movie and it just stays with you for days, weeks, months afterwards. They wanted to create something that gave people that feeling. Mike Lysini says, when films kind of fail to unnerve me, I go and seek out disturbing true life content. So like true crime documentaries and podcasts. And I definitely relate to that. I've done that before, as I'm sure many of you can relate as well. Mike also claims that the inspiration for Antrum was a short film that he had watched in college that you can view on YouTube. It's only a minute long. I'm not going to play it here because I'm sure I'll get like a copyright strike or something, but I'll link it below. And it's called Dining Room or There's Nothing, which is existentially very terrifying despite its brevity. So Dining Room or There Is Nothing features a woman who has a very ghostly appearance. She's got like very white skin. She's wearing these unnaturally bright contacts. She's sitting at a dining room table in front of what looks like a bowl of soup. Behind her, there is some like fire shooting up through the window behind her, and the camera is set so that we are at the other side of the dining room table, and it looks like we are sitting down to the meal with her because there's a place set. There's also like a shadow or silhouette of some like creepy hands on one side of the table. So it's got all of those aspects that very stereotypically make something scary, right? So she looks like a ghost. There's like the fires of hell in the background. She speaks backwards. It's playing a children's song in the background. It's doing just the scales, going up and down the scales on the piano. And then it's played forwards but backwards. And it's still like a very distorted, disturbing sound. For what it's worth, if you want to check it out, it's probably not going to give you nightmares. It's just kind of a little unnerving to see. David B. Earl was the director, and this short film came out in 2006. And he says that his intention behind creating this short film was a personal paradoxical desire for empirical proof that there is nothing on the other side of life. Like, why? Why do you want that? I choose to believe that there is actually something delightful on the other side of life. Do I know that it's true or not? Absolutely not. But I'm really not interested in giving myself clinical depression by forcing myself to believe there is nothing. So in their interview with Rue Morgue, the interviewer asks, at the heart of your film is a touching and tragic story about 2 kids and their dog. Why did you think this story in particular was well suited to the subject matter for the most dangerous film ever made, which is, a misnomer, I suppose, because it's called actually the deadliest film ever made. So David says both of the characters undergo deliberately opposite character arcs with respect to what they believe. Now, as I'm watching this, since I read this interview first, I was looking for those character arcs, and I'm not really sure that they were obvious or clear to me. If you watched this movie and it felt very clear to you what those character arcs were, please let me know, because the only ones I could figure out was that Orly killed some people and Nathan rescued a dog. Opposite arcs, I guess. He goes on to say, however, the arcs of the two children exist to facilitate the primary character arc in this film, which belongs to the audience itself. Throughout the course of your viewing, what will change about the nature of your own beliefs is at the core to our film. At the very end of the movie, we get some debriefing as to the symbolism and the audio that we experience within the movie. And I think the idea there is to drive the point home of like, these things are cursed and you just watched this movie. Oh, what are you going to do? You can't escape. You're going to die now. But one of the academics that's interviewed at the end is talking about symbolism. And she brings up, the idea of these sigils that appear in the films. And she says, really, symbols are just shapes. They're meaningless. We are the ones who ascribe meaning to them. So she uses the triangle for an example, right? So it's the Holy Trinity in Christianity. It is a protection symbol in ancient Egyptian paganism. And in Chinese Feng Shui, it stands for upward energy. I've also seen it mentioned that an upward-facing triangle stands for male or masculine, phallic, right, energy, and a downward-facing triangle is feminine or female or the womb. But all that to say, what's really interesting is this movie, again, this movie was nothing groundbreaking. It wasn't that great. It's a fine watch. Like, watch it if you feel like it, if you haven't seen it already. But it worked. What they set out to do, which was to give you that character arc of assigning your own beliefs to the film, worked. And TikTok is the proof. See, look, I wrote all my thoughts in a little notebook with sigils. What does it mean? What does it mean? So together, we are going to watch a couple of TikToks that I found in reference to this movie. And let's watch it together.
This is the deadliest film in the world. Stick around to the end if you want to hear something crazy. The film is called Antrum, and it is thought to have been made around the 1970s, and it tells the story of a sister and a brother who lost their pet dog and try to dig their way to hell to get their dog's soul back. Now, the reason I and so many other people believe that this film is cursed is because when it was first aired in 1988 at a theater in Budapest, the theater actually burnt down to the ground, killing 59 people. Now, along with this elusive cult film taking the lives of 59 people, it was also submitted to various video festivals in which it was denied any playtime, but people and programmers from those festivals actually died unexpectedly. The creators of the film even say that there are secrets hidden inside of it, but the viewers are taking a risk at losing their lives. Now, what I wanted to tell you is that this film is out there and available to watch. The question is, are you gonna watch it?
Is it just me, or did he not say what was crazy at the end of the film? Is the crazy part that it's out there and available to watch? My dude, it's on Tubi, like with commercials.
Scariest movies you wouldn't be able to sit through part 2. Antrum is a cursed film responsible for over 86 deaths. It's about a young boy and girl who enter a forest and dig a hole to hell. 2 theaters have burned down because of it. In 1988, a movie theater in Budapest burned down, killing 56 people who were watching it.
If you're wondering, the other 2 films that he recommends are The Autopsy of Jane Doe and Martyrs, which legit, both of those are really good movies. Hold on, I want to pause on that article. Horror film claimed to have led to deaths of 86 people comes to cinemas for the first time. We don't know where that article is posted, but I know that in the Rue Morgue interview, there was a lot of like tongue-in-cheek joking about this being a real film. It's not, but are you starting to see a pattern here? You're starting to see something, right? Let's go to the next one.
So I watched the movie Antrum. I know you can't see it that well, but this is the movie Antrum. So if you don't know what Antrum is, it's apparently this like cursed movie. The first time it ever played in theaters, it burned the theater down, like the audience died, 56 people died. Apparently it came from within the crowd. Don't know if that's true, but it's still pretty creepy. 56 people still died. And these 4 film festival organizers who watched the movie all died within 24 hours in really strange ways. It was like some Final Destination shit. But it's pretty much about this brother and sister whose dog died, and they are told that their dog isn't going to go to heaven because it's a bad dog. So they decide to go to the place on earth where Lucifer landed when he was cast out of heaven. and dig through the earth to get to the 5 layers of hell, and some really weird, fucked up shit happens. It's super disturbing.
Oh, it just kind of cuts off there. Listen, I don't want to call anyone dumb, especially that last girl. She seems really sweet. But I'm kind of, I guess, flabbergasted that people are speaking about this movie as though it is a real thing that actually exists. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a bit, right? Like, this is for clout. People are just trying to, again, build up that hype so that people will engage. There's no way that anyone actually believes that this is a real thing. And then I read the comments. So let's read them together. So on that last girl's video, somebody said, "It's not that serious. Oh my God, the cursed film is lost. This is a 2019 remake. But the director wants you to feel funny. It's like Midsummer or Hereditary. It'll leave you questioning stuff." So we've now gone and done some mental gymnastics that not only do we believe that this is a real thing, but we believe that this film within the film is a remake of a real film that existed but was lost.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
Media literacy is a huge problem nowadays, as you can see. People really kind of look at whatever they read or hear or see online and just take it at face value. There is no healthy amount of skepticism. There is no critical thinking really anymore. I think with how often that we use social media, and we use social media for everything, right? We use it for being social, we use it for entertainment, we use it to get our news. It's a really big problem that nobody is approaching what they're hearing or seeing with any amount of skepticism and going to fact check that, a third party resource or something like that. This is really not that big of a deal because it's a movie that in the grand scheme of things isn't really that important, but this definitely applies to much bigger things. As a mental health professional, I see it with a lot of mental illnesses and diagnoses, especially on TikTok. This comes up a lot. And I will get off my soapbox now, but it's just something that really bothers me. And you can see clearly that it's happening. But what's happening is exactly what the directors of this film kind of set out to do, which is that we take all of the symbolism in the audio and the story, like the storytelling, the building up, the hype, and we create our own meaning and assign our own meaning to it. So for someone like me who approaches everything with skepticism, was not rattled by this film, right? Because I read the interviews and I know that it's not real, and I can appreciate it for what it is. But for a lot of other people, they were just kind of like, oh, this is a real thing that happened? Okay, sure. I'm not going to check that anywhere. Just going to be freaked out and tell TikTok about it. And then just because I just did a video about Megan is Missing, I had to include this too on another girl's video. Somebody recommended, another good one is Megan is Missing. It is a true story and all of the footage is real. I'm like, be fucking for real. Like, be so for real right now. There is no way. There's no way. What is it about? I need some new movies to watch. It's about a girl and her friend who went missing in 2007. It's so messed up and it's just on YouTube. Now, when I first watched Megan is Missing, I feel like there was a little bit of credence there. I definitely went online and looked up a true crime case like that to see if anything had happened or anything existed. The Junko Furuta case happened, right? And after she was unalived, she was buried in a barrel with cement. So, it's not quite unheard of for these things to happen, although rare. And that's one of the only instances that I can think of. I'm not sure about you. I hope you're not reading about a lot of those things happening. So this last one I wanted to show you, this is a guy on TikTok named Mason. He does a lot of fun skits related to horror. He's a horror movie fan. He's on TikTok. I think he might be on YouTube too. And I think he's on Instagram. But this was just really funny. And I think it really exemplified what it's like to try and engage with people who lack that level of skepticism and media literacy. It sounds so mean when I put it that way, but that's the word for it, isn't it?
Might be the end for me, man. I just watched the movie Antrum. So, goodbye. Now, wait a minute. Why do you think you're going to die? Because Antrum is fake. It's No, it's the deadliest film ever made. I watched the movie like 3 years ago and I'm still around. It's not very deadly. Well, they explicitly explain it in the documentary. The Antrum film was sent to festivals. A lot of those festival directors died. The movie was shown at a theater in Budapest and like 56 people died. It's pretty clear. But you can't find proof of those things happening because they didn't. It's all made up for the movie to be a fake deadliest film ever made. Why would you make a fake documentary? That's just... I mean, you gotta respect the hustle and marketing. It's exactly like the fourth kind of the mockumentary about aliens. When I watched that one, I thought fully for real that was alien proof. That's fake. Just like the Blair Witch 2. People thought that was real. Totally fake. Why should I believe you over a team of professionals? I mean, they were the ones that shared the film with us and made the documentary. Yeah, some real quick evidence. The film they show that kills people from 1979, the main actor in that found film was born in 1998. So they like made the film making it look like from 1979, but it's not. That's okay. Can't trust people, huh? Mockumentaries are something else too, because there's a fine line of like a fun watching experience thinking, oh, is it real? And then there's just the lying to your viewers. It's a lot like Blair Witch where people thought Heather might have actually died in it, but in reality, it was time travel. What?
He seems fun. My closing thoughts about Antrum. Like I said, I didn't really like this movie, and I think I hear what Mike Lassini is saying, that he wanted to create something that crawls under your skin and is unnerving and sticks with you after you watch it and blah, 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 blah. But there's so many better ways to do that than what they actually did. I'm going to show a couple of clips from the movie that literally had me burst out laughing.
Nathan, it's a demon. No, come here. Look. Be very still. You see that? Nathan, did you do this?
I think my issue with it is that the symbolism that's used is all very shallow and obvious, and it really leaves very little for interpretation or imagination. It has very little like rewatch value. There's really nothing for me to talk to anyone about after I finish the movie. And of course, I'm measuring this against Midsummer, which I realize had a much bigger budget, but Ari Aster has this talent for like hiding things and creating symbolism. I mean, he used color theory, he used mirroring, he used all of these different things that, he used these representations. It was very clear to me in the scene where Danny is like hysterically crying with all of the other women in the village that she's having this moment of catharsis, that she's finally found these people who literally are empathizing with her because they're all weeping with her, right? And it was such a deep meaning for her to find this new family, and you almost feel the relief with her. You're experiencing it with her. I'm also going to show you a couple of pieces of the film that I didn't even notice the first time or the second time that I watched it. Somebody else pointed it out to me, and that's how I realized that it was in there. So as you can see, if you didn't see that, your first or second or third watch through of Midsummer, and the reason why I think you watch a movie like that so many times is because it's so layered, like an ogre, and it has so much rewatch value, and you can talk to the people that you see it with, and each of you has different concepts or themes that you've come out with, or different things that you've noticed, or likes and dislikes, right? Instead of coming out of a movie with such shallow symbolism that uses all of these tropes where you just say, man, that sucked, or yeah, that was okay when you're leaving the theater. So even though I guess the experiment was a success with the TikTok crowd in assigning meaning where there is none, I thought that a more interesting concept would have been, the examination of films that get elevated to the status of cursed due to rumors or theories or stories that are potentially made up. I guess that's what rumors are, huh? Such as The Wizard of Oz, where someone unalived themselves on set. The Twilight Zone, where people were unalived by a helicopter, right? So people have been harmed on set, people have passed on set. Or lost media, right? We create all of these stories, these legends about lost media that, you know, a commercial somebody saw one time in 1985 and it never aired again. What happened to it? Where is it? You know, there's a whole lost media wiki that tells the stories of all of these and why they went missing. And I think that that buildup leaves us with a lot more and gets under our skin a lot more than just kind of like spoon feeding us this symbolism. Anyway, that's it for this. If you watch Antrum, tell me what you thought of it. Were you part of the TikTok craze? Did you think that this was a real movie? What are your thoughts on the way that TikTok reacted? Remember, don't go to any of those people's pages and say anything to them. Don't be rude. Not that I think that you're going to, but I feel like I just have to say that, right? It's all in good fun, I guess. So if you like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment. If you're not sure what to comment, how about a goat, since I think that's the closest we can get to a Baphomet emoji. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! Happy New Year!